Whether you like it or not, Nikola Jokic just had one of the greatest individual playoff runs we have ever seen. The Denver Nuggets just defeated the Miami Heat in 5 games and only lost 4 games the entirety of the playoffs. Now that Jokic has his first championship ring, it's completely fair to say that he stacks himself up with some of the greatest of our game. But how exactly does this playoff run stand up to the test of time? Over 20 playoff games, Jokic averaged 30 points, 13.5 rebounds, and 9.5 assists on some really impressive shooting splits and efficiency. That makes Jokic one of 4 players in the history of the NBA to average 25, 10, and 5 in a year where they won an NBA championship. Giannis did it once during the 2021 championship run with the Bucks, LeBron did it once during the 2020 season when he won his title with the Lakers, and Larry Bird did it once during the 1984 season when he got one of his multiple championships with the Celtics. This also makes Jokic one of 4 players to ever average 30 and 10 in a year where they won an NBA championship. Giannis also did it during his 2021 championship run. Shaquille O'Neal did it twice in 2000 and 2001, and Hakeem Olajuwon did it once during his second championship in 1995. Nikola Jokic is also the first player out of any player in NBA history to lead the playoffs in total points, total rebounds, and total assists. The numbers at this point are just straight up gaudy to look at, but the eye test of Nikola Jokic is just as incredible to watch. The Denver Nuggets foiled almost every defensive scheme thrown at them. Double team Jokic in the post, he beats it almost every single time. Single coverage against Jokic, you already know that's a bucket. Switch everything on defense, that's Gerber in the post. Leave him open on the short roll, good luck with that. He's gonna make the right read or score for himself. Leave him alone on the pick and pop, better luck next year.
Up top, Jokic, shot clock winding down, knocks down the 3.
You get the idea. There is no real solution to stopping the Denver offense because of Nikola Jokic. In the first round, it was the Minnesota Timberwolves. Rudy Gobert, multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year, tasked with giving Jokic his best efforts. It didn't matter. The Nuggets would go on to defeat the Wolves in 5 games, and honestly looking back, the Wolves really gave the Nuggets a run for their money in a few of those games. Jokic was a steadying force for Denver, and you could argue that it was his worst series of the playoffs this year. 26 points, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists on some really efficient shooting splits. You tell me this was his worst? Moving on to the second round, the Phoenix Suns were the betting favorites and the quote-unquote matchup nightmare on paper, featuring another big man in DeAndre Ayton, who, I say this lightly, played well against Jokic historically. This turned out to not be the case, as Jokic dominated the competition in the second round as well. A Game 4 loss for the Nuggets featured a 53-point performance by Nikola Jokic, and it spawned the defensive theory of letting Jokic cook to beat the Nuggets. Spoiler alert, that didn't work out for anyone else. Jokic would finish that series in 6, defeating Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, averaging nearly 31 a game, almost 13 rebounds, and almost 10 assists a game on some crazy shooting splits. I must say at this point though, hats off to the Phoenix Suns because they managed to grab 2 games from the Denver Nuggets. Heading into the conference finals, the Nuggets would face a familiar foe in LeBron James and Anthony Davis, the team they fell short to in the 2020 NBA playoffs in the Western Conference Finals. Many thought it would be a competitive series, and I guess in a way it kind of was, as the average margin of victory for the series was just 5.75 points per game. The issue with that was, it was a 4-game sweep in favor of the Denver Nuggets. AD and the Lakers had no real answer to slow down Jokic offensively, as he averaged just shy of 30 points a game, a little over 13 boards, and a little over 10 assists. A dang near 30-point triple-double on once again very efficient shooting splits. And now we arrive at the NBA Finals, the first finals appearance for the Denver Nuggets in the 47 years that the franchise has existed, as they're ready to square off with the Eastern Conference champions in the Miami Heat, who are on the heels of one of the most improbable playoff runs that the NBA has ever seen. Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, 2 of the NBA's most respected defensive talents at their positions, and a red-hot shooting team ready to hoop behind them. Jokic and the Nuggets handle business anyway, In 5 games, the Nuggets will be crowned champions, and once again, Jokic was a steadying force throughout the series and would secure the Bill Russell Finals MVP as he averaged just over 30 points a game, 14 boards, and a little over 7 assists on some, again, insane shooting splits, as in this series, he was featured much more as a scorer, and one of these games featured a 32-point, 21 rebound, and 10 assist performance, the first ever 30-20-10 game in NBA Finals history. Another record set by Jokic on a miraculous playoff run. The best player in the league rose to the best of his game on the brightest stage there is. Say what you want about the competition that Jokic and the Nuggets faced. Perhaps the Miami Heat really ran out of gas in the finals, or maybe the Suns roster wasn't complete. Maybe LeBron is a little bit older. Maybe AD isn't as consistent as he used to be. But the Nuggets and the Jokic played against a lot of talent, no matter how you spin it. So you gotta give them credit for doing what they did. Since the 1974 season, there have only been 13 teams in that time span to win a championship while only featuring one All-Star on the roster during that same season. Jokic and the Nuggets make that the 14th occurrence. It's hard to fully contextualize and compare this championship by the Denver Nuggets to really any other championship in NBA history, but off the top of my head, one team you can easily compare this team to was the 2011 Dallas Mavericks when they won their title. Dirk was the obvious leader and the best player of that team, but the complete foundation of the team was just impeccable, similar to today's Nuggets squad. A great supporting cast that fits the team's best player like a glove, and a great coaching staff who can get the best out of all of their guys. The only thing missing from Jokic's 23 campaign as a whole was the MVP award, which I still believe Joel Embiid deserved, but man, if Jokic took home his 3rd straight MVP while having this type of run in the playoffs, it sure would be an interesting conversation. With the conclusion of the NBA Finals, that means the offseason has finally arrived. This means we have a ton to talk about, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and stay tuned, because the next upload is going to be talking about every single NBA team's top priority this summer.